GM, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is Saturday, the 16th of November, and let's get straight into the charts. And if we take a look at Bitcoin, we can see Bitcoin has closed the week very nice and strong, or sorry, shall we say, has closed CME futures week nice and strong. So we can see here that we closed just shy of 92,000. So a nice close above 90,000 on the CME futures. Obviously, the CME futures do not trade over the weekend. That's why we like to see the close on Friday finish strongly, because the futures chart should then have a roll over into the sentiment around the spot chart. And if we just go over to the spot chart, we can see that obviously we did indeed close Friday strong. At the moment, we're above 91,000. Obviously, we closed yesterday just above that level. So we are working our way through what we have expected to be some strong resistance around this 1.618 level, which is coming in just shy of 89,000. And above that, we said we had this trend line going back to the previous bull market, that we actually said the highs of that bull market, obviously creating this ascending trend line, should have been an area that we could get a bit of a reaction on. And we have obviously seen a reaction in terms of some consolidation. The Tom DeMark daily 9 candle printed. Obviously, we also spoke about the fact that we now have a bull moon that printed yesterday. So we have seen that when these bullish moons have printed, that actually we've seen price action react fairly well to these. And if we just look back at the other bullish moons that have printed, these are the full moons, you'll see we have seen some nice rallies off the back of this signal. So I think personally, based on the fact we are about to head into the third week in November, which historically has been the most bullish week in November for Bitcoin, that we might get some continuation in the price over the next few days. And I'm just gonna, I think, say something here, because I've had some feedback, personal feedback from a couple of people that know me, that kind of say, look, you're so bullish in your messages, but on your videos you're not bullish, or you're a bit more level, a bit more bearish, or that's not quite the case. Okay, I want to tell everybody I'm very, very bullish. I think we're going much, much higher over the next few months. And I've been mentioning this to a few people this morning. Now's the time to be a bulltard. Now is the time to be irresponsibly long and be a bit reckless on the long side, if that's how you want to play this. I mean, it's not really the time to be looking for bearish paths and bearish scenarios and sort of extended pullbacks and dips, just because we are at the part of the cycle now where the cycle is going through a massive expansion, where the total market cap of all cryptos is going up exponentially. And this is when we see those really explosive moves. I mean, if we just have a look back in the history of Bitcoin and look at the last bull market, we've literally just come out of this consolidation and we've had this initial breakout, and you can probably compare it to where we got to at the end of November. So if we just go back and take a slightly closer look at this, you can see that in the last bull run, at the end, or in November, okay, so November was very bullish. We pushed up into that third week of November. We then consolidated at the previous all-time highs, and then we got this all-time high breakout. Now, you could argue that actually we've just been through that all-time high breakout this cycle. So you could argue that, okay, I think we're actually ahead. I think that this move has probably happened or is happening already. So what did we do when Bitcoin closed above new all-time highs? We saw, after the all-time high closing candle, we then saw 1, 2, 3 weeks of upside price action. And from the top of that initial breakout candle, we saw, let me just adjust this slightly. Let's do that again. So that confirmed the breakout. We saw a move of, I want to say that's 78%. Is that 78%? It's there or thereabouts, isn't it? Let's try that one more time. You can see what I'm trying to catch here. Yeah. Okay. So we saw a 78.87% move, okay, after that breakout. So if we come back to where we are today, from this breakout candle, let's be cautious. Let's give the bears their moment and say the breakout. Well, we can't really say the breakout happened here because it didn't. The breakout happened here. I mean, 78% from here. I mean, it's taken us up to around 140, over 140,000. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. And like I say, if we take it from the actual breakout itself, and we just start from maybe the start of that breakout candle, then, if you're looking at a similar power in terms of the breakout, again, you're looking at over 120,000. Now, I'm not saying that that has to happen, but I'm just saying, based on what we did in previous cycles, when we've seen this like for like breakout from, long periods of consolidation or long periods spent at prices which are within the price discovery. And obviously, yes, you can say that we broke to new all-time highs earlier on this year, but we didn't actually get a full breakout to new price discovery. Then we have seen these really, really explosive runs. And, in the previous example, that went on for several weeks. Basically, we had a further 1 to 3 weeks, and we came up to really into January. So there was a little pullback at the end of November, and then we had these 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So December was extremely bullish. And if we were to do something similar, say, for example, we run a bit higher, pull back, then potentially we could see a very bullish December, and another sort of 3, 4 weeks. So I do think potentially we have another week here of upside. At some point, I expect we'll get some consolidation. Again, if we're looking at the previous cycle's breakout, then we can see we had this consolidation here at the highs, and then we actually, from the new all-time highs, after that move, we then had a pullback of 32%. So I guess what we're saying is at some point, we expect potentially a 32% pullback. The question is, where does the price go to? Where do we get that pullback from? And obviously, a lot of people are talking about 100K. I'm talking about 102,000, which is a Fibonacci target. If we then were to get a 32% pullback, you're looking at coming all the way back down and retesting this breakout here. And I'm not sure if that happens. Obviously, we can also say now we have the ETFs. Now we have this pro-crypto regulation. There's more certainty in the market. Will we actually get a 32% pullback? I guess we could do, but I think for that sort of pullback, we need to really get some overextension. So let's say, for example, Bitcoin smashes through 100,000, makes its way all the way up to, say, this 2.618 fib, and then we might get some sort of 30% pullback all the way down to 80K, close the open gap. I mean, that would be extreme volatility, but I mean, Bitcoin can make these moves, and then from there we could blast higher. But the point I'm trying to make is that I am not bearish here. And when I'm talking about pullback targets, I'm talking about shallow pullbacks that I think will be very, very heavily bid. And I do ultimately see the price of Bitcoin much, much higher, probably by Q1 next year, and probably going higher throughout next year as well. I'm still maintaining that we have a time target of the end of 2025 as to when we expect a cycle peak. But of course, if things get carried away, if things get really overextended and we see Bitcoin running up to those targets I've just mentioned, 120, 140, 150,000 per coin early next year, then potentially we could set in a cycle top earlier. So I just wanted to clarify that. Let's now move on to Ethereum. And Ethereum, we can see, as we've said, not as strong as Bitcoin, but of course, we've had this break back above big resistance, which Ethereum now should be flipping into support if we do come down. I actually think if Bitcoin continues a bit over the next week, Ethereum should do the same. And I would be expecting Ethereum potentially over the next week to make its way up to this 3,700 level where we have the descending trend line. So yeah, I still think at some point Ethereum will catch up. But as we've been saying, I expect Ethereum to catch up probably in Q1 of next year. Typically, Bitcoin's strongest quarter is Q4, and Ethereum's strongest quarter is usually Q1. So I do expect Ethereum still to lag probably up until next month, probably up until December is when we see Ethereum start to get going, if it's going to get going against Bitcoin. And obviously, that should make for a really huge move in its USD pairing. And Solana, we can see Solana has broken out and looks to have held its retest of the $200 level and is currently pushing on higher. So I'm still thinking Solana could probably push for one more week. Obviously, it's worth noting we're on a Tom DeMark 8 on Solana. And typically, we are looking for Tom DeMark 9 signals. That's the Tom DeMark sequential indicator, Tom DeMark 9 signal to actually be a potential area to take profits. So I do actually think this would obviously play towards us potentially having one more week of upside. Potentially Solana gets some extension up to around sort of 240, 250. Everybody starts to get extremely bullish on Solana. And then we see some consolidation. Again, a 9 candle does not mean that we are necessarily pulling back. I mean, we saw one back here. We saw a weekly 9 candle. It ended up being a red candle. We saw some consolidation, and then we carried on our trend higher. And I'm just looking, yeah, we've got another 9 candle here on Solana, which obviously played out very well, which caused, well, really was right at the top of that initial run up in Solana to just above the 200 level before we had obviously the long consolidation. So it is something definitely to pay attention to. And certainly if we get some extension into a weekly 9 on Solana, I would then be a little bit cautious, maybe for a couple of weeks, just whilst the market cools off a bit before potentially going higher. I just want to see if we have that on Bitcoin. I don't think we do yet. We have a Bitcoin weekly 8 as well. So potentially the markets are setting up for another push higher and some consolidation into the start of December or into the end of November, should we say. And just looking at the DXY obviously coming into major resistance here. So we've outlined this level. That's on a weekly 7. So potentially we see crypto cool off, a bit of extension into the 9 on the dollar before the dollar looks for a longer term top. And if we look at the Nasdaq has pulled back and started to retest. So the Nasdaq's on a weekly 9, Tom DeMark. So that probably explains a bit of weakness in the stock markets over the last few days. And is the S&P? No, the S&P had it already, and that led to some consolidation. So that's pretty telling. Usually I look at these charts on the daily, but it's been quite interesting today. I think with things being a Saturday, obviously markets, traditional markets are closed and things move a little bit slower. So obviously it's been nice to zoom out a little bit onto the weekly charts today and just get a feel for what is happening on a slightly longer term time frame. And yeah, I think, look, if we just go on to our second chart here, we can see that obviously we have this next target around this 102 level. Bitcoin's obviously currently on a weekly 8 Tom DeMart. So potentially, if we were to get a Tom DeMart weekly 9 into this 100K level, then I would be fairly optimistic, or fairly, should I say, confident that we will see some sort of consolidation and rejection from next week. And like I say, potentially that ends up being a couple of weeks of sideways, or maybe a week or two of pullback before continuation in December. I really think we will finish the year strongly. And I also really think that Bitcoin will likely continue its bullish momentum into January before Trump actually takes office. So yeah, I think the market is started to look at that as a little bit of a buy the rumor, was something that's a bullish event that the market is now starting to front run and price in. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching today. If you have enjoyed the video, please do smash the like, subscribe if not done so already. Yesterday, I came out with a video sharing some meme coin picks. As I've said, I think meme coins are going to be the best performers this cycle. So if you haven't watched that, look at that. These are meme coins that I think will soon get listed on either Coinbase or Binance. They don't currently have either a Coinbase or a Binance listing. So please do watch that if that's something you're interested in. I'll be back later on, likely with another video today. I want to look at more of a video for people that are new to the crypto space, that either don't have any crypto or maybe have a small amount of crypto and they've not really looked at it too deeply. Just a bit of advice on how to sort of set up an initial portfolio and a little bit of a longer term look at the cycle. So if that's something you're interested in, look out for that one. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow with the usual daily updates. So have a lovely day, and I'll talk to you all later. GM.